Philadelphia arguably has the best owner in all of pro sports, and the point was proven again recently by two other owners. Allow me to explain. The Philadelphia Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie is one of, if not the, best owner in all of sports. Now that's debatable, but this isn't just because the Philadelphia Eagles are the reigning Super Bowl champions, although that does help. It's not just because since taking over the organization, the Eagles have won far more than they've lost. It's not just that. No. It's something that recently happened in the news with two other owners in the NFL. Them being the Brown family in Cincinnati with the Bengals and Carly Ursay, who just recently took over as the sole, CEO, if you will, of the Indianapolis Colts. So we'll start off with Carly Ursay. Carly Ursay was questioned because she's on the sidelines with a headset. And the question was, why exactly are you on the sidelines wearing a headset? I didn't necessarily have a problem with her answer, and her answer was, I need to know who messes up. If a play isn't executed, I need to know if it actually was the fact that the wide receiver wasn't running the right route, or if that's just being told to me by the coaches because they want to cover their own ass. You know what? Okay, fine. I don't hate the answer, but it's a little bit of meddling. A little bit. Like if you're a coach, do you really want to look over and you see your OC and your DC, and then you've got the owner sitting there taking notes, jotting everything down? I certainly would not. Then you've got the Brown family, the owner of the Bengals, who just watched their first round pick leave training camp. I'm sorry, it wasn't training camp. It was OTA, whatever you want to call it now. But he left. He packed up his bags and he said, I'm out of here. And why? Because he doesn't have a contract. This isn't 2004, by the way. It's 2025. The days of, these rookies coming in and doing these ridiculously insane contracts where they suddenly are the highest paid player in the team are no more, because you basically have, a scale of, okay, you're drafted here. This is what you will play for. And then it's just a matter of couple of things, couple of minor details. But the Bengals always find a way to make these minor details a big deal. It seems like every year the Bengals are in this similar situation with star players, with draft picks, whatever, where they're nickel and diming these guys to death, where they're sitting there and haggling so much, where they're squeezing a quarter to the point where the Eagle craps out a dime. And it had me as an Eagles fan appreciative of the job that Jeffrey Lurie does. I think it's so difficult in pro sports as an owner to just take a step back and go, you know what, I'm not good at meddle. Because, hand up, if I was the owner of a team, I'd be meddling. I would be that guy that would think I knew more, that would think that I could help the team with my knowledge, even though it probably couldn't. And I would be making the tough decisions. So the fact that Jeffrey Lurie isn't on the sidelines wearing a headset, all right, great. But there's only one owner doing that, and that's Carly Ursay. So that might be a little bit of a ridiculous comparison. But take Arthur Blank for the Falcons. He has a weekly meeting with his head coach, where he has to have, questions and answers. Why did you do this? Why'd you do that? And it's like, as a coach, yeah, you're going to take the job because it's one of the 32, but that's got to be super annoying. And he's on the sidelines. We all know the situation of Dallas with Jerry Jones. It's difficult because if you're an owner of an NFL team, you want to be known, but you don't want to be known. You basically want to have the ability to hire people to know what they're doing and to take a step back. And a lot of them don't. Because while they've succeeded in businesses that allow them to have the money to purchase an NFL team, now they're in a situation where they want to be the best of the billionaires. It's a billionaires boys club. And they want to show that they know more than everybody else, so what do? They end up getting involved. Jeffrey Lurie doesn't seem to do that. He spends money, to the point of the Brown family in Cincinnati. He spends money. You rarely ever hear about the Eagles in a contract dispute. They just recently signed their first-round pick, Jahad Campbell. He was the last draft pick not signed. They recently signed him. Was any Eagles fan out there worried that Jahad Campbell was going to go unsigned? No, they weren't. The last time a player was franchise tagged was Deshaun Jackson. It's just not a thought that crosses our mind because the Eagles take care of their own. And that is a combination between Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. Now, Jeffrey Lurie ended up hiring Howie Roseman, but he allows him to do the job. And this doesn't mean that Jeffrey Lurie isn't involved in some capacity. He's not a hands-off owner. He will go to the combine. He will sit there and watch evaluations, and he'll go through interviews and all of that. But I don't get the sense that Jeffrey Lurie is meddling to the point where it is a detriment to the organization, where a lot of GMs and a lot of owners, like it is. If you're a GM and you want to take this player, but you've got the owner sitting there going, no, I think we're going to take that player, it ends up putting your franchise back at times. There's a famous story about the Detroit Lions when Steve Mariucci was the head coach, and he wanted to take, I think it was DeMarcus Ware out of Troy. He was circling him on the book right there. Okay, we're going to take this guy for our defense. And it was Ziggy, no, was it Ziggy Wolf? I think it was Ziggy Wolf's kid, whoever the owner of the Detroit Lions at the time was. It was his son who said, yeah. But what if we take Mike Williams, the wide receiver for USC? What if we take him? And then all of a sudden, Steve Mariucci looks over and sees the owner's face, and he went, oh crap. And next thing you know, they end up taking their third wide receiver in 3 straight years, and Steve Mariucci has to be the one to go, I'm really excited, when he wasn't. The fact that Jeffrey Lurie takes a step back, he allows the people that he hires to just do their job and do it correctly, and he doesn't sit there and pinch pennies because he is a guy that realizes that if the team is successful, he will make more money. That is something that I think the Bengals have failed to recognize this entire time that the Brown family has owned them. And I keep thinking back to the year that they were on Hard Knocks, where they were in a contract dispute with their 6th overall pick, Andre Smith. And it's a prime example of how this organization probably won't ever win because of situations like we're just going to nickel and dime and nickel and dime. What you end up doing is you end up eventually coming to an agreement with the player, but you end up pissing them off so much that do they even want to be there? Or do they just go, you know what, I'm just tired of this, trade me. You rarely ever hear that in Philadelphia. When was the last time a Philadelphia player said, you know what, trade me? Yeah, there was a contract dispute with Hassan Reddick. Did he request a trade? I don't think so. I think it was the Eagles just going like, you know what, the juice isn't worth the squeeze in this. We're just gonna usher you out. We're gonna trade you. You rarely ever hear about disgruntled players with the Eagles. You always hear it's a gold standard, and I don't think we take it. I don't think we realize it in Philadelphia how lucky we are to have this owner as the Eagles owner. And it's not just him, by the way. I've done whole things about when I was on the air. I did a whole thing about how Philadelphia actually has one of the best ownership cores in all of sports, and I can do that later. But yeah, Jeffrey Lurie, I think, deserves a lot of credit, and I think it jumped out once again this week with the story about Carly Ursay and with the Brown family watching their first-round pick go home because they somehow find a way to make an easy situation difficult as they pinch pennies, and they once again won't win. This is the part of the video where I ask you guys to hit the buttons. You know the buttons. Subscribe is the most important. Hit thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, go Birds.